Everyone's screaming AI bubble, but one of Wall Street's biggest tech bulls says we're only in the third inning. And if he's right, sitting in cash could be the most expensive mistake of this cycle. Stick around to the end. Dan Ives drops one key time frame for how long the top of the third inning lasts, and that timing changes how aggressively you should be scaling into AI winners.
Microsoft to Amazon to Google have been accelerated over the last few weeks, despite what we're seeing here. Palantir to me on the use case side continues to be front and center. I think that's when I get the valuation worries, but that is really, I think, right at the epicenter of what we're seeing. And it continues. This is just the start.
Dan, hang tight. Dell earnings are out. The stock is initially popping a bit here in overtime. Christina Partsinevelos has the numbers. Christina.
John, Dell delivered a mixed report. The earnings came in strong at $2.59 per share, beating expectations, but revenues of $27.01 billion came in slightly light. Gross margins, though, 20.7%, beating estimates despite these higher memory prices. Many concerns about that going into earnings. The story, though, was really about the split between their two main businesses, the Infrastructure Solutions Group, that's servers, networking, storage, that it beat estimates. But the Client Solutions Group, which is PCs and laptops, fell a little bit short. Dell raised guidance across the board. They're now expecting full-year revenue of $111.2 to $112.2 billion. That's well above Wall Street estimates. And then the same thing for the earnings per share guidance. It also came in higher at $9.92. And lastly, for AI exposure, the CFO saying in the release that they're raising their AI shipment guidance to roughly $25 billion, up from the previous $20 billion target. And I'm also seeing just on the headlines that Dell is going to be working with IREN, which is they operate data centers in Canada, so perhaps there's not really a market reaction in that stock. But the two will be working together to build data centers in Canada. Guys?
All right. Christina, thank you. Dan, how much is Dell swung around by just how much of an allocation Michael Dell gets from Jensen Huang at NVIDIA, because AI is so much the story of why the stock has gone up.
If you own the stock, that's what you care about. I mean, you're not focused on you're focused on the AI play relative to the read-throughs for NVIDIA. And it speaks to what we're talking about. The second, third, fourth derivatives are just starting to play out across the AI revolution. I think those that call it a bubble, it's easy to call it a bubble because you don't see it in the spreadsheet. I believe this is a tech bull market. It goes on another 2 years. Look at Alphabet as another example. New York City cab driver was bearish in Alphabet to start the year. Now look, because the reality is AI is a tailwind for them. We're seeing that, even with Broadcom and, everything we're seeing on the chip side.
I mean, yesterday, the president signed an executive order for Genesis Mission. This is the big AI project that is going to harken back to, the post-World War II years of Manhattan Project here. Is there a government backstop here? Is that one more reason why you should be buying into this bull market for AI?
Yeah, and look, I mean, as we spend so much time in D.C., the reality is for the first time in 30 years, U.S. is ahead of China when it comes to tech. And when it comes to what we see from big tech, I think there is a government backstop, because the reality is that it's led by Godfather of AI, Jensen NVIDIA. It's led by Microsoft. It's led from what you see with OpenAI. And look, the worries about the too big to fail and some of the concerns, we are still, like we talked about, we're top of the third, maybe one out in terms of this AI game. And I think we have 2 more years left in this tech bull market. And that really continues to be the core here from all of our checks.
I just want to go back to Alphabet, as it does trade at a record high right now, and that is, how much of a game changer is Gemini 3, and how quickly is the technology changing in general in terms of winners and losers? Like, how to gauge that, how to think about that as an investor.
Yeah, because the back was against the wall for a few years. Now you're seeing a major change there from Gemini, and ultimately I think Apple, that's really going to walk down the aisle with them from a Gemini partnership. That's going to be their AI piece. And then you look what's happened on chips. You look at the sum of the parts. Look, I could argue Alphabet, you have another 80, 100 hours upside relative to the AI piece that's not factored in yet into the story.
Okay.